Hey everyone, a little while ago we did this video about which one tricks you should probably be the most afraid of, and today's something a little bit similar. We're going to be looking at which early game champions are just going to run you down and take over. These are the ones that will probably smash your team during the lane phase and then use that lead to win the game, so you should definitely be more afraid. You could also use this video as like which champions could you play that are the best early game stompers in each role. It's kind of like a mix in my opinion and a bunch of stats like how much they win early, all rolled together. Let's start off in the jungle. So these will be high damage, they're going to gank a ton, and they're just going to take over the game through that. Rek'Sai is one of the best in Korea for this exact reason. She can farm really well, but she will endlessly gank in the weirdest ways to get you. She'll tunnel behind you even earlier, over walls. Nowhere in lane is really safe from her except under your own tower, and the only option you have is to try and flash away. Her damage is ridiculously high though. She can probably one combo you from the very start of the game just with that knock-up. I've seen her a lot more since Worlds, and every time it is the same. She ganks a ton, screws me or my team over, and then keeps up the pressure with more and more ganks until we just lose. Jungle Pantheon is like that as well, but just way more face roll. Like he flash W's, blows his load, and you're dead. I think he has the highest early game win rate for the jungle I've ever seen. It's above 65% right now, which is ridiculous. He's also just like super easy to play. He runs in, stuns, does his damage. No part of that is difficult, especially with Moby boots to run them down. His farming isn't even that bad either. It's not great, but he blocks a lot of damage in the jungle, so he's high health enough to fight afterwards. He's gonna win most 2v2s if someone tries to counter gank, and when he's got a lead, you have got to be careful. Like he'll ult behind laners to keep up the pressure, and honestly, his damage is so high if he gets just a few kills and items earlier than normal. Xin Zhao is running out of junglers, is also above 60% early, and for a lot of the same reasons as Pantheon. Not quite as easy, but basically he charges in and knocks somebody up, does a huge chunk of damage, and can duel pretty much anybody with red smite. After the crabs were reworked to give more gold, and actually after Xin was reworked as well, this is like a dream for a champion like this. He either gets the gold from the crab or he finds the enemy jungler doing it and he kills them instead. This time he really does farm well though, so he speeds through his jungle, ganks more often, and not only bring in a bit of crowd control to keep them in place, but most of the damage you're going to need. And then there's obviously the ultimate, right? To keep him alive when he dives in. And when you're fed, anybody in that circle is probably going to die getting that close to you, which is why you have to be afraid when he gets just a few kills. Now we're going to move into the mid lane, and most of the brutal early game champions out of mid snowball out of control with damage or roaming or both. Zoe doesn't scream early game assassin or I'm going to stop you or anything, but actually once she does get ahead, you have to be really afraid. Even with just a small lead, she can sleep into Q and you're dead. One spell. She needs to land one spell to make that happen, and that is why her early game win rate is so high. After that, it's really just like fishing for more of those to hit, like fire them out at long range, nuke people down from there, keep getting more and more for free. This is one champion that you just cannot really fight from that range. If Zoe plays it well, she'll never be close enough to kill, but she can still kill you. That whole thing is not very easy to play against at all, especially early when she has some magic penetration, but you don't have any magic resist to stop it. That is why she is so insane early game. We don't see Talon a lot at the moment, but he can cheese a lot of kills with his guaranteed crit and his bleed. He doesn't even need a kill for you to be afraid of him. He has one of the best early games out of any mid laner because of how easily he can win the rest of the map after his lane. Zoe can nuke one person at a time from very far away, which is great, but Talon will hop over walls, get behind you, and remove you from the game, then probably remove somebody else as well. It's a very big mix of both, to be honest. He definitely has a lot of damage, which by the way is almost impossible to dodge or counter or anything, but it will also flank a fight over a wall to get in range to do it. His stealth is kind of like the last kick in the nuts that you needed. Like if you want to shut him down, he has a free escape if he needs it, or a way to get out after blowing somebody up. LeBlanc is also really good at that. Way more of a trickster. She doesn't just bring the damage, but it's how hard it is to actually stop her once she gets rolling. I do kind of take it back. It is a lot about the damage actually. First thing, her laning is not difficult, right? You Q the enemy, you W forward. If they don't know how to stop you, you do that until they die. At level 6, you just double Q and they have no chance. You get a few kills and you literally delete people. The reworks LeBlanc I don't think was that scary from before, but this version right now, the one-shot version, that is a nightmare to play against. She can roam amazingly well with her mobility. She can nip around fights to avoid attention, but if you misstep, if you overextend just a little bit too far, or you face check, you'll be dead in less than a second. Next up is going to be top lane. There are two types here really. Smash your lane back to bronze or have an amazing roam. Pantheon is probably one of the highest in the entire video, by the way, for top lane because he does both. He smashes his lane and he roams really well, but we talked about him in the jungle already, so it's pretty similar. We're going to skip him for this one. Kled's mount system gives him way more health than any other champion in the game when played correctly, so he can pretty much just outduel anybody. Nobody knows how he works either properly, so there's like such a high chance of them making a mistake that you can really punished. He does have a lot of damage, but it really is that ability to punish mistakes. Like, you have your pullback, you have your mobility to chase them down. They cannot get away if they mess it up. The main reason you have to be afraid early isn't even him killing you in the lane phase, it's what he's going to do after that. He will charge down other lanes with his ultimate. There is no way to get away from that, and he suddenly starts to smash 2 lanes instead of just 1. He will win multiple lanes early game, and that is really difficult to play against. Darius was probably one that you did expect, but he was like a maybe for me. And then I checked the silver and the gold win rate earlier, and it's crazy high. His whole kit is built to destroy lanes though, right? The bleed and his ultimate makes him dangerous to fight over time, but his healing and his auto reset makes it very hard to take short trades. Once he does start to get rolling in a game, there isn't really any way to stop him. He's going to dive you, he'll kill anybody who comes to help you as well in 1v2, and you just have to pray that you can hold on. I think a lot of people know how crazy Darius can be, but there's just not much you can do against him early game to stop him rolling over you, and that's why you have to be afraid. Finally, in the top lane, Olaf is probably going to be a surprise, but at gold and below, this guy absolutely smashes lane phase with a win rate well over 60%. I do think at higher ranks, people might understand how to play against him just a little bit more, but if his axe hits you just once and you're kind of out of position a little bit, you're a little bit too far pushed, he's going to run you down, and there's nothing you can do unless he misses. That is even worse as well when he gets his ultimate. He's got the speed boost from that, 1 from Righteous Glory when he builds it, a slow from his axe, and you can't even lock him down or crowd control him. Because it is so simple, you just hit an axe and you chase somebody down. One mistake can kind of completely throw the lane, and because we rarely ever see anybody playing him anymore, like nobody probably knows what his damage is actually like. So AD carries are not exactly lane monsters, right? That's not exactly why you pick them, but a lot can win lane or do well, but this is about being afraid of one on the enemy team. Draven does stupid amounts of damage, which definitely helps with that fear factor, and he also just doesn't really need a support to help him kill you. It's hard to trade against him because in longer fights, you're going to have the Conqueror damage kicking in for him, and in shorter fights, he has a better 1 auto damage from his axes. The thing is, when he does finally get a kill and cashes in, it feels so bad. He has a built-in mechanism that allows him to snowball out of control. It's just like every kill is worth more, right? So he could have 3 on the scoreboard, but he probably has like 5 kills worth of gold. With the lead, it's really hard to fight him, as any champion in any role. Tanks are going to melt, squishies get 3-shot, it's just a nightmare. I know Heimerdinger is not an AD carry, but this is bot lane Heimer, so I'm going to count this anyway. In Korea, he's number 1 early game, even higher than Draven actually. In the rest of the world, at least below Plat, he's about the same. His grenade outranges any AD carry's auto attack range, by the way, so if they want to CS, they always can take a grenade to the face and the beams afterwards if he lands it. The poke is just insane, but so is the burst damage with the grenade and your rockets and everything. It's so hard to fight him. He constantly pushes you in, and it's the worst thing to play against. That is why you have to be afraid, really. Like all of these parts, his damage, his stuns, his poke, his like burst damage, he pushes, you'll get no farm, you'll be useless while he runs around and he kills everybody. Misfortune is the last of the AD carries, and she doesn't even really play like an AD carry. Like, she's so good early because she builds lethality instead of crit, and she relies on her abilities and not her autos. Abilities are king early game. That's where all the damage comes from, and autos take over later, but almost all of Misfortune's damage is ability based, and lethality just buffs that up even more. It also nukes down anybody who hasn't built armor, like an AD carry or a support. The same reason a Zed or a Talon is so deadly to those champions. You have like no defense to stop that damage breaking through at all. That is why she's a lane bully. Like, your love tap is going to out trade like any single auto, and her Q bounce can half health somebody, especially with Dark Harvest and the arm penetration. When she's ahead, that is going to be even more arm penetration, more burst damage to run around the map with, and she's literally just going to press R and kill the entire enemy team from a mile away. Support is last. It's probably not the role that you think of when you think like, oh, you're going to be afraid of something in a game, but some are just going to make your life hell bot lane. Blitzcrank is one of them. It is so easy as well, and that is why you should be afraid. No offense, but one hook and that is your flash. Another hook and that's you dead. Any idiot can do that. Blitzcrank is on the same level as like a Talon or a Pantheon or a Zoe in this video. Way higher than most bot lane because early game hooks are most deadly. His base damage is actually quite high as well, so he'll be able to do a lot of it with the AD only having to do a little bit of follow-up. It's also the snowball factor. As we said, right, one hook is your flash, but then for the next 5 minutes, without that, any hook is probably going to be getting you killed. That is kind of the lane phase. He's already going to hammer that, and then after, it can be the easiest game ever as well. Bot lane smashes crazy hard, then roams around, takes more towers, he lands more hooks to other people, and they also die, and that is the game kind of done. Zyra and Brand I'm grouping together for this one because they are very, very similar. They simply just out damage everybody bot lane early game, especially since their Leandri's buff as well, but their base damage is really high. They both have crowd crowd control, and pretty much one-shot combo. It's not just the burst and the one-shot, it's a poke as well. It's very hard to play against. Like, the enemy AD won't be able to farm properly. They're going to spend most of their time trying to dodge, be down in gold and CS, and then one mistake, one stun or root, and they're going to die for it. It's extremely difficult to play against that, which is why at lower ranks, both of these win over 60% early. And honestly, it's just like so frustrating. If they get a lead, it just doesn't stop there. They get a few items, they go into team fights, and it's basically like playing against the second mid laner with the damage that they can bring, and they're probably going to top the damage charts. Thresh is a bit of a mix, but a good Thresh will dumpster most lanes, and you have to be so careful. Similar to Blitzcrank, like one hook is probably going to be a flash, and then if they get hit again, that person is in a lot of trouble. The thing is, a Flay and the follow-up is a little bit better with Thresh, so even if they do have flash, it doesn't always mean that they can actually get away. Holding a support or an AD carry in place for that long with that much crowd control with your hooks, flays, slows, that is more time for your AD carry to bash them down and actually get the kill. Thresh has a lot more playmaking as well as the support. Long range hooks, lantern plays, amazing roaming, and he can literally make it feel like better bot wins, right? With how hard he puts the enemy bot in the dumpster. So those are 15 champions that are the best early game that you should really be the most afraid of when they're on the enemy team. Thank you for watching. Let me know which other champions you would have included in here as well. But for now, I will leave you with the robots.